What's going on, guys? Charles Weinraub here, AKA the Handsome Homebuyer. In this week's podcast, we are changing it up. We've been taken over by Ken Handlon, AKA Thanos, superhero in his own regard, taking over the Smells Like Cappy with Handsome podcast. Going to talk about his journey, what he did, what he does, and how him and his wife have band together to launch a totally new career and how successful it is, and what he does for, most importantly, the youth of Long Island. I'm going to be speaking at his school in his entrepreneur class this Friday. Levy and I are going out there, going to talk to the kids, which is ironic because you're talking to someone who barely got out of high school. Now I'm going back to high school to speak words of wisdom. So check it out. It's a great heartfelt podcast. We'll see you on next week.
Hey guys, Ken Handlon here. This is my first podcast, and I'm here under the because of Charles Weinraub, AKA the Handsome Homebuyer, the HHB podcast coming up. I love Charles. We met a couple of years ago, and
How did we meet?
I was stalking you on
But in
social.
In a non-creepy way.
No, I just love what you did and do, and then I took a class that you took, a real estate class, an all-day class.
Yeah.
Really love that, and I just have followed you. It's funny. I really put you in the same category as Gary Vee.
Nice.
And then when you started to sort of expose your love of Gary Vee and everything, it just made sense because you're like the micro version of him in real estate to me. And you don't even know how many people you're affecting and touching, and maybe offering stuff to. So the reason I'm doing this podcast is because Charles said, hey, if you want to do a podcast, hit me up. I saw him at a social event a few nights later. I had a couple of cocktails, and I said, Charles, I want to do a podcast. And he was more than gracious to give me his facilities, and I can't pay him back enough. The reason why I'm doing it is because I want to show people that there's never too late of a time to try stuff. I'm 57 now, and I wake up with the same energy I had in my 20s and 30s, and I want to inspire other people. Not that I've achieved anything, and part of the reason I really like you and look up to you is because I like to hold myself accountable, and I've done it in a negative way a lot in my life. I've beat myself up because of things I haven't done, and I've had that negative voice in my head, which we've talked about. And to see you've always had that positive voice in your head, and I know it's a choice to make what the voice is in your head. So that's something I'm really working on, and to follow through with the real estate. And by doing this podcast, I'm trying to hold myself more accountable. If I'm doing a podcast and saying what I need to do in a public forum, I'm more likely to follow through on it.
So that makes sense. So yeah, if it's out there and you're telling the world that you're going to do something, it gives you more of an incentive to do it because
I don't want to have the egg on my face.
There's accountability, exactly.
A lot of people know your story, but you have a great story. Years ago, you were actually retract a little bit. We got to know each other a little bit better when as you guys might not know, I'm a social studies teacher, and I also teach an entrepreneurship class. So Charles was nice enough to come in and speak to my students, and I was just telling his staff what a great job he did. Came in and gave an organized 40-minute lesson like you've been in the classroom doing lesson plans your whole life. It was concise, understandable, and the kids really got a lot out of it. And we're going to have Charles again on October 22nd. So I'm excited about that. The kids are excited. We actually have a girl in my class. She's a sophomore now, and I turned her on to your podcast. She loves real estate, and this is what she wants to do. And
nice.
So
is she in this entrepreneur class?
Yeah, she's in the class now. So
none of the same kids from last time are going to be in there, right? They're
all gone out into the world.
Okay, perfect. No, it's good to know. And that was very. Listen, as much as you were thanking me for that, I really had to thank you for that, because it was really an amazing experience. It was very cool to be able to do something like that. For me, it was very full circle, because obviously I did not have the best time in high school and middle school.
Yeah. Which many entrepreneurs share that common trait. Either they didn't perform well academically, and then when you don't perform well academically, you're bored or not interested, you fidget, and you act like a kid. And sometimes teachers, they don't understand that. And I've thank God over the years I've evolved as a teacher, and I've seen that. And through the magic of social media, I see so many of my ex-students where I was like, what the hell is that kid ever going to do with his life? He can't keep his head up in social studies, and then, he's a corrections officer driving a BMW telling me, Handlon, you got to call me back quicker, for this house, So now I'm working for them.
That's awesome.
So it's good.
It comes full circle.
And now, now the kid who has his head on the desk, I don't jump on him anymore because I have a feeling that they're going to work out, because the stories like you and Gary and all these people where school might not have been for them, that type of school, but they were maybe learning a different type of education, even how to survive a day without getting the crap beat out of you, stuff like that, or being called names. And, when you're the odd man out, you have to read people. And when you walk into the cafeteria, are they going to let me sit at the table? And there's a lot of stuff that goes on in school that, I try to tell the kids it's a temporary thing. And you guys are living proof that, it does not define yourself, the experience you have in school. And likewise, the kids who, kick ass and are the homecoming king and queen and the blonde curly hair quarterback, they end up on the other end of it too. So, it works both ways. It really does.
No, it's true. So it was very cool for me to, after having such a hard time in school, to be able to come back full circle and give back and be able to stand up in front of the class and say, hey guys, listen. And the cool thing that I didn't realize was the assistant principal was there.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I said some pretty heavy shit, and I'm like, really sorry if, you were offended by any of that. And he's like, nah, man, it's awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. Which was like, hey, listen, if you can get good grades, fantastic, but none of this shit that's going on right now matters.
Yeah.
In the real world, once you leave here, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And to your point, high school is a very temporary place, and kids are very, very cruel. And there's a lot that goes on in high school, and kids at that age think, this is my entire world, when it's a freaking blip. It's a blip on the radar.
And now with that phone, they're so much braver than they would have ever been. They say things they would never say to somebody's face, or
of course,
so
it's even worse.
That's something we deal with. I don't know how it's going to turn out in 10 or 15 years to see, but the kids that get it and still can look you in the eye and can see a teacher with their hands full and open the door, like that used to be the norm. Now it's the exception.
Yeah.
But those kids are gonna, even tech driven and all that, it's still gonna be personal relationships and how you treat people and empathy and all that other stuff that you guys talk about.
But it's tough for you guys because, like you're saying, there's, I guess this is as much an art as it is a science with you, because you could see a kid that's asleep at the desk who's just basically not engaged, and you could try your best to engage him, but if the subject matter is just boring for him or her, you're not gonna be able to, there's nothing you're gonna be able to do.
I used to take it personally, like, holy shit, like my Hamilton lesson didn't excite this kid. But meanwhile, the kid's like in a trailer home, doesn't know where he's sleeping tomorrow night because dad might not come home, and there's so much of that other stuff. So the kids have a lot on their plate. They really do. So we as teachers do that, but there's a fine line, because you don't want to coddle. You want to prepare them, because they're not going to get their ass kissed out in the real world either.
Well, you definitely shouldn't. I mean, I think kids, myself included, were coddled way too much.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't, because at the end of the day, when you go out, Long Island isn't the freaking real world. High school is not the real world. When you go out into the real world, and I don't want to say kill or be killed because it just sounds terrible, but it's like either you're going to be independent or you're not.
Yeah. Well, in defense of us parents who are raising spoiled kids, sorry kids, my wife and I tried really hard to have kids. We did in vitro. Yeah. Like it was like, a strain. And when we got the news that we were having kids, it was like a gift from God.
How many kids do you have?
Two kids. And
twins?
No, a boy and a girl.
Okay. In vitro both times?
One time. Froze the eggs.
Wow.
Took out some, had the daughter.
All right.
Took the frozen eggs out, had the son.
Wow.
So technically they're 2 years apart, but are they the same age?
It's like a 2-for-1 package.
Yeah, that may be a little bit too much, but...
You've said that joke before, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
I can
we used to call him Jack Frost.
Oh my God! Listen, whatever works.
Yeah,
they're healthy.
So
they're here.
Yeah, and thank God. But like my daughter had 200. We had a little Irish shop in Port Jeff years ago.
Okay.
I used to have 2 or 3 beers at Tara's when my wife was pregnant. Buy 6 or 8 outfits and come home. She had 200 outfits in her closet before she was born.
Yeah.
All different stages of her life.
Just because you were so excited.
So we were so excited, and we thought that's what to do. Disney 3 times before you're 5. She doesn't remember Disney now.
Wow.
It's like, no, and I love my daughter, and we're getting through it and everything else, but, we try to do the best for our kids because maybe I didn't have that when I was a kid growing up.
But there's a balance there.
Oh, there's got 100%.
Like I sit there, like I had a very, I wouldn't say easy, but I had a very fortunate upbringing, and I was never lacking for anything. My dad that's sitting over there, gave me a lot. So did my mother. And I say to him sometimes, like, I wish he would have made me struggle more. So now I'm thinking, like, if I ever have kids, I'm going to make them, like, they're going to have to, like, work to eat.
Well, look at Bill Gates, right?
Like, I'm not buying them a car. Like, they're going to have to freaking work for a car. Like, you better get a job at 15 because if you want a car at 17, you better start saving right now. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
regardless of, like, how much money.
At that age, you get that perspective. Like, when you're 22, you're with your wife, and you got a little stroller. You see the Barbie freaking toy car, $450. Who cares? I'm a Boars head guy. Right? You buy it, and my daughter drove it 4 times. But you live and learn. You don't. I said to my kids, "What do you think? There's like books on how to be parents?" And they're like, "Oh, there are. I just didn't read them."
But who says they know what they're talking about?
I know. Hey, the kids are.
Listen, it's
that's
really,
why we have fingerprints. It's so different.
It's very situational. In the moment, like yesterday, I was working through the mall, changing a pair of pants, and there was a woman with 3 kids, and she had one in a stroller, and she's trying to feed it, and the 2 other kids are killing each other in the aisles, and I'm just like, this poor woman.
I'm working with one of my ex-students right now, a buy and a sell. Sold his house in Oakdale, bought in Mandeville. 4 kids, a 5th one on the way, all under 6 years old. And they handle it like cool hand Luke. Not a raise. They just deal with it there.
Some people
wonderful.
just have that temperament.
They're from big families. That's what they grew up in. And they was just like, my wife and I were just like, and they were just like, industrial size Cheerio things. They just manage, that's what you do. So, that's my why. I, want to show people, that it's not too late to do things. And plus in today's world, back when my dad was young, like he had one job his whole life because he was so afraid.
Well, that was that generation.
He was miserable.
But that was that generation.
I know. He had 4 boys to feed. And like he came back from World War II and didn't
What
talk.
did he do?
My dad worked for Sperry Gyroscope.
Okay.
Grumman type thing, air defense, overlooked mid-management guy, felt he was overlooked, miserable. And, his love was basketball. Like, he was alive when he coached CYO basketball. Yeah. And that's what we had in common. And then I was like, Dad, why don't you become a teacher? I can't do that, But today, it's like, it's so much more fluid. Kids do so many different things. 50% of the jobs that will occur in 10 years aren't invented yet. There's crazy stuff like that. Yeah. Like the 3D houses you're involved in.
Freaking printing 3D houses.
And, it's just a crazy world out there. So,
So wait, how long have you been in real estate for?
I've been in real estate 2.5 years.
So, that's a pretty big, and you work side by side with your wife. You guys are like a tag team.
Yes.
And at 55, you decided to get into real estate.
Yes.
What makes you get into real estate? You're a teacher. You got summers off.
My wife and I were toying with the idea of doing it part-time in retirement with our leisure suits on in Florida.
Are you getting ready to retire from being a teacher or no?
About 3 more years.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Because you're 55 now?
57.
57. So 60 you're gonna go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe 62. Okay. Depending. But
you like it though. Like I've seen you with the kids.
I do like it.
You really like it.
I say
and the kids really respect you, and you're not like that typical teacher where kids are like,
No, I try to be like the teacher that I used to like to be around. I like to, know what they're about and what they're doing.
That school's huge, by the way.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. It's a big school, but it's the challenge is letting them know that there's a world outside of Mandeville. Yeah. Because there's no downtown. There's no Main Street. No. So the school is the hub. Yeah. And that's where everything happens. So anyway, I'm teaching, and we toyed with the idea, and we were going to take the class, and my wife got laid off suddenly from Arrow Electronics. 30 years. She had people underneath her, and she was actually doing an employee to evaluate them for raises. Yeah. She did all of her salespeople underneath her. She came in on a Monday morning. They go, did they do the evaluations? She said, yeah. They go, come in. They brought her in the conference room, and she got fired on a laptop by somebody in Denver. 30 years, and she got walked out. They had to mail her things, right? So I was pissed off. I came home that day, and I'm making a sandwich, and there's no American cheese. So I'm like, where's the American cheese? Like 2 days without American cheese? Like, what is this, Croatia? You know, like, I'm pissed.
Did you notice she got fired?
No. And she goes, come here, I have to talk to you. I go, what? Better be good. And she goes, I got fired. And I go, oh. All right, well, now we can do real estate full time.
Where's the American cheese?
Yeah.
That's no excuse.
No, I let her slide that night. Yeah, it was good. But
they don't have American cheese in Croatia?
no, that was, I don't know why I picked Croatia. Any Croatians out there, I apologize.
I don't think it's a big thing in Croatia, though.
No.
In your
Croatia's
defense.
actually beautiful.
Yeah.
Those
I've seen
Eastern
some crazy
European
parties
countries.
there.
Yeah, well,
I can't do that shit anymore. I'm too old.
no.
No, I don't have
No,
the
I can only dream. And plus, even when I sold my Boar's Head route, I did that. It hurt.
How did you get a Boar's Head route? Because those things are like freaking winning the lottery. Like in the sense that they're very, very difficult.
My brother
to get.
bought a route, and
Okay.
I was working on Wall Street.
How did he get a route? Like
He was an accountant,
Okay.
and he was an accountant for a big Boar's Head guy.
Okay.
And this guy wanted to break off his route, which hadn't been done before.
Okay. Because it was so big.
Yeah, and he wanted to like sell off pieces and still keep a big piece. So he went to Boar's Head, and my brother's, crossed his T's, dots his I's. He's a very good businessman. So they gave him a shot. So he bought a pseudo route underneath them, and eventually got his own route.
Wow.
I worked for him for 8 years.
Okay.
And my brother had 7-Elevens. They used to make sandwiches at 7-Elevens.
Yeah.
Boar's Head Cold Cuts.
I worked one there.
And then they came with the pre-mades.
Yeah.
And that killed his route. So like literally he couldn't afford me anymore. So I was like looking into buying a Snapple route. And then I'm walking through Brooklyn, and this Boar's Head guy says to me, you want to buy a route? I can't afford a route. He goes, if I don't sell the route in so many days, my wife's going to leave because I got a gumad on the route, and she caught me. So I was like, okay. So
Shut up.
$10,000 down, I bought a Boar's
This is
Head
how
route.
you bought the freaking route?
Yeah, no contract, handshake, $10,000, and a note for $150.
Gumad on the route. How many years ago was that?
20.
What's
22?
that route worth today?
I sold mine. I sold it for $500.
What's it worth today? Over $1 million.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Those routes are like.
You should see the real estate offers I had back then. Like, Ken, you want to buy this house in East Hampton? It's overlooking 3 Mile Harbor, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. This guy was one of my customers. He was building a house in Montauk. He was going to sell it to me for $249,000. And I bought a house in Port Jeff Station. I can't do that. And I was making a lot of money, and I can't do that. So my son ends up going to a basketball camp out in East Hampton with the New York Knicks.
Okay.
Guy I know is running the camp. Ken, you want to go back? We rented a house. We're going to have a barbecue. It's that house. It's $1 million house.
Yeah.
Like, Remsenburg, that's the thing. When I sold my Boar's Head route, I had $100,000 cash and notes coming in. So I wanted to buy houses in Mastic and Shirley. They were $30,000.
Yeah.
Right? $30,000 cash. I could have bought 10 houses.
Yeah.
But I didn't, I had no self-confidence in myself at that time.
Well, it also wasn't what you did. Like,
No.
You were in a different business.
No.
To just go and start buying houses.
I was like, nah, I can't do that. I didn't even look into it. So then,
Where does the self-doubt come from?
the parent, my upbringing. I grew up in a household where they tore you down to piss you off, to prove them wrong, out of love.
Wait, they tore you down to piss you off to try to motivate you to prove them wrong?
Yes.
Did that work?
No. Well, yes, it did for a long time. My dad was always had a negative voice. You're not working hard enough. We were basketball. I was his player on the team. You're not working hard enough. You're not doing this hard enough. You'll never be this. You'll never be that. And always, I remember I got a letter from Columbia to play basketball there. And William and Mary, Division I schools.
Wow.
So excited. Now, I know in my head I'm not an NBA player. I'm like, holy Ken, you're not a Division I player. Like, if Columbia let me sit on the end of their bench, but I get that education.
Columbia?
Columbia.
Wow.
And I didn't even answer back the coach.
Wow.
Like stuff like that. That's what sort of gnaws at me.
And that's crazy because it's like, I mean, this is not to have regrets, but if you would have made that phone call and you would have went, what would your life have been?
That's the thing. That's what, I tell kids this all the time. I was friends with basketball with a guy named Mitch Kupchak. He's the general manager of the Charlotte Hornets now. He used to be with the Lakers. Showtime, Magic Johnson. I used to work at his basketball camp. We were buddies, right? So I'm 22 years old, out of college, nothing to do. Why don't I call him? Like, he would have hired me in a second, low level, but I'm like, what would have happened? Because basketball was my true passion. That's why I ended up being a high school basketball coach and owning a restaurant and teaching. And I was mediocre at all of them. I tried doing too many things. Like that's part of it. I want to show Dad, okay, I can do this, and this.
Is your dad still do it. Is your dad still alive? No.
In fact, funny thing, I have a teacher that I teach with, I'm very close with, and she's like into like spirits and crystals and stuff like that, right? And she's got a whole business and she does very well. So, and I love her to death. Like, she's my best friend teaching. And I go, you got to do a reading for me. I got to find out if I'm going to hell or what the hell's going on in my life. So as soon as she sits down, she goes, your father is sorry. Loud voice. Do you have a loud voice? I'm like, yeah, booming voice. And then after everything she said after that, it was just like, but she was right on target with a lot of stuff. Like, you've been so close so many times in your life. Like, when I had my restaurant, my thing was to get Guy Fieri there.
Okay.
He was my Gary V.
Okay, diners, drive-ins, and dives?
Yeah, and if he goes to your place,
that's it.
You're a millionaire.
Yep.
No doubt about it. So, long story short, I post the thing on Facebook. I get a girl from college. My sister-in-law is married to Guy Fieri's hairdresser. I'm like, oh, right? I write the letter, right? I send it out to him, right? Guy Fieri is going to do a book signing in Huntington at the book review. Like, you hear it on the radio. I call up the book review. I want to sponsor this Burger Shack, blah, 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 right? So I make a dossier of the Burger Shack, all my pictures and everything, and I take the day off from school, and I get there at like 6 hours early.
So you were a full-time teacher and had this restaurant?
Yeah.
How the hell were you doing that?
And coaching varsity basketball.
How?
Waking up in the morning at 4, going to the restaurant for 2 hours, doing paperwork and writing checks out.
You're a basketball coach?
And then...
Wait, hold on. Wait, you're a basketball coach?
It used to be. Not anymore.
Yeah, but you're still like...
Oh, I was a varsity basketball coach for 3 years at Eastport.
Hold on. We're doing this charity basketball game. I think we need a coach. I'm texting James to say, do we still need a coach? If we do, you're in.
All right, fine.
Do we?
I'm on the opposite basketball.
So yeah,
Let's keep it rolling.
So I used to coach basketball.
How did you do all that?
That's the drive. It's like, I want to show everybody what I have a poor perception of how I look, like Homer Simpson and Shrek and all that. I want to show that everybody that the doofy guy nobody said I could own a restaurant, not opening one. So I was like, so fired up about it. And I was fighting my wife most of all, because she's the rational one. She loves me to death. She doesn't want me to get hurt. So we walk in the restaurant. Now, I'm buying mulch one day at the Garden Depot.
Wait, so what happened with Guy Fieri?
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. It's crazy. So Guy Fieri, so I write the dossier, right? So I'm waiting there that day. So there's this young girl comes in. I'm like, are you affiliated with the Guy Fieri sign? Yes. I go, well, I'm sponsoring the event. Could I have 5 minutes with Guy, beforehand? She goes, I don't know, but, we'll see later, right? But I'm not in charge, right? So I wait till the 6 o'clock thing. Now, people are starting to get online. So at 6 o'clock, this chick with a headset on, stilettos, 23 years old, Ivy League, comes walking. I go, that must be her. I go, hi, I'm Ken. I'm sponsoring the event. She goes, who are you? What's the Burger Shack? I'm like, can I meet with Guy Fieri for 5 minutes? I've been here since 11. She goes, I know nothing about this. I go, well, can I get on the front of the line? She goes, no, you got to get on the end. So I get on the end of this line, 3.5 hours, right? So I'm like, all positive, man. Gonna meet Guy. I meet Guy. He's a great guy. Gives me a knuckle bump. I'm like, tell him the whole story. I know your hairdresser. He's like, okay, we'll make it happen. Out of the side of his mouth, knuckle bump him. Then they're doing the New York City Food and Wine Festival like the next month.
Okay.
Guy Fieri's restaurant. I go, we're buying tickets, right? We take a limo in, my wife and I. She doesn't spend money on limos. I go, this is the night that's going to change our lives. So we go in there, we take a limo in there. Guy Fieri's at the door. Hi, Guy, it's Ken. We met last month at the book signing. I go, I'm friends with Ariel. He goes, oh, Ariel's inside. You go find him. Now, I've never met Ariel, but I'm saying, so there's like 1,000 people in there. So for 3 hours, I'm asking everybody, who's Ariel? Who's Ariel? I meet Ariel. I went to college with Gwen. Oh, Gwen's great. We're doing shots. My wife's like, it's fun. She's crying. It's finally going to happen. He's like, oh, you're definitely on the show. You're great, you know. I'm like, holy shit, right?
Were you and Guy?
Yeah, we're hanging out with Guy, too. We're doing knuckle bumps. We're saying we're going to be on the show, right? Take the limo home. It was a nice limo ride. And I go to school thinking I'm going to be a millionaire. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm walking to detention, and I get a phone alert.
Okay.
Guy Fieri, TMZ, in fist fight with hairdresser. They got loaded on a plane. Guy Fieri's pounding him in the face. I never want to see you again, you son of a bitch. Yeah. And it's all on TMZ. So I look at it, I'm like crying. I can't believe it. My in with Guy Fieri is in a fight. So I call Pam. I go, Pam, Guy Fieri's in a fight with Ariel. And guess what? After that, I let it die. I go, oh, they never became friends again. And I never followed up on it after that. I said, that's a sign from God that I was not meant to be on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Yeah. So that's why I had this mentality, you know, like, holy shit.
Good limo ride, though.
Oh, it's a good limo ride.
All right, cool.
Especially the bumps on the Cross Island. Oh, my God.
What the
Yeah.
What else you got?
So,
No, you said you've been so close so many times. Was there another time you were really close like that?
with my restaurant, I started making videos.
That's a tough business, man.
I started making videos. Burger blogs.
Okay.
The same time Gary Vee started doing his wine blogs, but I didn't know Gary Vee.
That was a long time ago.
I did 11. He did 3,000. And I tell my kids, like, I wonder what would have, like, I dressed up like, I did like the Greek burger. So I dressed up as the guy from 300. And like, they're edited. They're really good videos. They're funny. I got a lot of traction. But like if I put a video out and I only had 353 likes, oh God, they don't like me. I was worried about that shit, and I'm telling my kids in class, you can't worry about that stuff. You have to put yourself out there and not worry about the static or the amount of likes and just do what's making you happy. These videos were making me happy. I love doing it. I did it with a coworker. He didn't even charge me to edit these things. And they came out really funny. Now my kids love them when I show them in class. Like one time we do a corned beef burger. I'm dressed up as like an Irish butcher, and I get drunk and I fall asleep, and instead of chop meat, I put corned beef in it, and we grind the corned beef. And I end up doing an Irish dance at the end. They were really cool. And guess what? I was getting phone calls. Uh-huh. I get phone calls from Guys Grocery Games, Vanderpump Rules.
Okay.
I started getting phone calls from Hollywood.
Okay.
About like Vanderpump Rules, like we saw you online, and we want to do an episode where the girls are going out to the Hamptons, but they need a quick bite to eat, right? So I'm like, I close the restaurant for the day. Vanderpump Rules, and every hour we're going to be an hour and a half late. There's problems with production, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to be on the show and everything else, and the models are going to fall for me. So they show up. They're like, "Where's the food?" I'm like, "You're not coming in?" They're like, no, just give it to us to go. And like they didn't even take the cameras out of the cars, But the fact is, by putting those videos out there, I was gaining attention.
Yeah.
And I, like you with your daily Gary Vee thing, like today's was awesome.
Thanks, man.
What was today about?
It was,
Show my memory.
let's pull it up here. There's so many of these things.
I know.
Keep doing what you love. Keep loving what you do.
Yeah. Every day is a great message. And, and I know you're not going to stop until, like, that's the difference between me and you. So I want to ask you, how do you get this tenacity? Like, how do you, like, are you frustrated that, like, you know, that guy, what's his name, his sidekick?
Oh, D-Rock?
D-Rock. You know, he got in touch, reached out a couple of weeks ago and then hasn't been. Like, are you getting frustrated at all, or just something you're just going to keep doing
I'm just going to keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
Because I like the process of doing it. I think it's fun. And I know it's going to happen, and I don't expect him to do it now. Like, I expect him to make me go 100, 200, 300, whatever it is days.
Yeah.
The irony is, like, when you put stuff out into the universe, it happens. So Corey, who runs property management, comes in this morning and goes, hung out with D-Rock on Saturday. I'm like, what are you talking about? You hung out with D-Rock? Did you hear about this?
I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, so hung out with D-Rock. Did we talk about this before or no?
A little bit. I saw it.
Corey's like, I hung out with D-Rock. I met D-Rock. I'm like, what do you mean you met D-Rock? He's like, I guess we have a mutual friend. He's like, I was unaware we had a mutual friend who opened up a pop-up shop in New York City. I was there. D-Rock rolls in. I start talking to him, telling him about what you're doing with all the houses and everything.
Beautiful.
He's like, D-Rock's like, listen, it's really hard to get on the podcast, but he DM'd Corey his email address and said, email me some shit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, here we go.
Yeah.
Like, listen, even if that doesn't...
You don't know who's going to be on the other end of something.
But even if, like, listen, fate is bringing us there, because, like, I'm not going to stop until we get there. And this might be the time where it happens. It might be the length where it happens, or it might have nothing to do with it. But at the end of the day, I find it fun.
And guess what? It's making you better in your pursuit of that.
Yeah, and there's people. It's just so funny. So I'll go out to, like, a networking event, and people are like, yo, day 55, Gary Vee. Like, when's he going to fucking, when's he going to do it? Like, it's now become something that, like, the real estate industry is rooting for. And the cool thing is, when it finally happens, it's going to be, like, it's really going to be an example to everybody that has watched it.
Yeah, sure.
Of what is really possible.
Yeah.
Because people have, like, most people have very limiting beliefs.
110%. And that's what I tell my 7th graders. Like our first lesson of the year is to set 1 year, 5 year, and 20-year goals.
Okay.
And they're like, it's the second day of school, and you're asking.
We're not supposed to start working.
And we're
yet.
supposed to. You're asking me what my major is in college, you know, and what university. I want it to be specific and clear, and you know. And I go,
why do you do that?
Why? Because I want them to start having that conversation with themselves. I don't want them. My dad used to say to me, "You're like a driftwood. You're just going down the river." And whichever way the current's bringing you, that's where you're going. I want you to have the paddle in your hand. Like, I want you to direct the path. I want my kids to start thinking that, well, if I'm going to, you know, be a brain doctor, I got to start going science heavy, and I got to start making this decision in 8th and 9th grade.
Because 7th grade, it's go time. Like, 7th grade is really, like, even though they feel they're super young, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of go time.
Yeah. Now, just in getting your act together and loving who you are and knowing, we want the kids to love who they are and be okay with, like, I tell the kids every day, if you're feeling it, 80 kids are feeling it. Like, if you're feeling pit in your stomach, who had a pit in the stomach on the bus today? And all the kids have their hand up, you know, and what you're going through, everybody's going through. You have to understand that. But, you know, I just want the kids, like, in 7th grade, their dreams haven't been squashed. Like, I want to be MLB. I want to be, you know, I want to be a YouTuber. Okay. I had a kid yesterday at an open house, 7-year-old. What do you want to be when you get older? I want to be a YouTuber. How are you going to make money on YouTube? Well, they're going to buy my videos. What kind of videos are you going to make? I don't know. I go, if you can make videos to help 7-year-olds out, like the 7-year-old version of Charles, I go, you'll be a millionaire, kid. And his mother's looking at me like, my wife's like, let him go. Like, he's up and down. But, you know, I love doing that. I love planting seeds in kids' heads.
You never know. Somebody might come back to you in 20 years and say, hey, you remember me?
I've had it.
Yeah.
I've had it happen. I get letters, and, you know, it brings you to your core. I mean, when you said something offhanded to a kid, and they took it like, you told me I can do anything, and I didn't even remember saying it. Or with sports, I did it a million times in locker rooms and stuff. You know, I used to coach everything. I got tired of the parents, the unrealistic dreams, and you know, so we were like, I had 38 kids on a lacrosse team. We were 11-1, killing everybody. Everybody played every game, and I was in the office like 5 different times because I'm ruining Johnny's chance at a scholarship because he's not playing with these other kids, and you know, he plays better with them, and you know, the dudes are going to rise to the top. You know, just like, you know, you see a kid at a talent show, and one kid can sing and 9 can't, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm glad I got in. Funny how I got into education. You never asked me that. I had my Boars Head truck, and I was driving through Eastport. You know where that old high school is on Wantagh Highway?
Okay.
One of my old friends from the basketball camps was doing bus duty, right? And I drive by, I go, that's Rich. He ended up being a New York State champion coach with West Hampton and Suffolk Community. Then he works for the Charlotte Hornets now. He works for Mitch Kupchak now.
No shit.
Yeah, so it's a small world. So I stopped the truck and I get a bag of hot dogs. Last time we saw each other was in a bar in the Bronx. We snuck out of Fordham University basketball camp, and we were in a bar. And there were some people there that shouldn't have been in, so the bartender takes a rifle and puts. That was the last time I saw him, like 25 years ago. And he was like the coach who was he snuck me out of camp. I was a student. Stuff you can't do today. So I see Rich, I give him the hot dogs, and I get in my truck. And I had like 12 more hours ahead of me. Just like people mount up, you're late, I'm out of turkey, you know, holiday weekend, you know, people, you didn't order enough Monday, you know. I just had this day ahead of me. And I go, that's what I need to be doing. He was like the Pied Piper, he had all these little kids around him. I said, that's what I need to do. So I went and sold my route. That Friday, I put a loose leaf paper on a piece of chalkboard in Boars Head, and I sold it on a Monday.
Wow.
And you know, I really didn't look back. I was happy. I wasn't happy. We weren't connected, my wife and I, when I had the Boars Head route. We weren't trying to have kids. We were just like, I was out, she was out.
Well, because it's
stressful.
Having a Boars Head route is a very, very, very stressful thing.
Yeah. I was young, too. I was 28. I was, like, very young.
So for people that don't know, like, they load you up at the depot, between 1 and 3?
Yeah.
And the depot's in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So if your route's in, like, the Hamptons, you have to drive from the Hamptons to Brooklyn to load up at, like, 1 in the morning.
I was East End Provisions.
Yeah.
So I would wake up in Port Jeff, drive to Brooklyn, load up, drive out to Montauk, and work my way back. And I'd get home at 9 o'clock at night.
Really?
And then do it the next day.
You must have been shot.
7 years. And I never had a day off. Like, never had a sick day, or I had plantar fasciitis. I had plantar fasciitis on my foot once. I couldn't even step on the gas pedal. Too much pain, so I had to learn how to drive a stick with the lefty foot, and just crazy stuff. My first year, I didn't even have enough money to afford a helper. So I used to go in the store, take the order, go up in the truck, pull it down, put it in the shopping cart, wheel it in, put it away. You know, I did that all day. And then you had Boars Head was very corporate. So, you know, they didn't want you being a truck driver. They want you to be polished and promote sales and do seminars and tastings and stuff like that. So there was a lot involved.
The trucks have to be minted. They won't load you.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot. There's a lot that
My
goes
brother
into
has
it.
5 trucks. He still drives a truck. He's nuts. He's in his 60s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
But that's one hell of a business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I thought I was going to do that forever, you know, and it just wasn't my calling after a while. I was just making money. And I tell the kids, you know, why do you want to do this? And if they say I want to make money, I tell them, you know, I've done that. I've done things to make money, and it doesn't make you money and it doesn't make you happy. You have to do what you love, and if you do it with your passion, the money will follow you. You groom dogs and you do it passionately, you'll be rich. Yeah. You know, whatever you pick.
That's true.
All right? So
what do you want to leave people with?
I want to leave people with, I'm going to do about 1 podcast a month. I have a bunch of local entrepreneurs lined up. I have about 3 or 4 that have great backgrounds and great stories. None like Charles's, but actually they do. Everybody has a great story, you know. And
everybody does.
Charles was painting cars 6-7 years ago, and he's going to be a billionaire with a B, and he's going to help a hell of a lot of people along the way. And you know, and I'm actually humbled and honored to even be in his sphere at all, that he even knows who I am. So, you know, he's inspired me to do this, and I want to help other people, and that's where we are. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Charles is the goods, man. It's not just an act. He's a real dude. He doesn't know me from Adam, and he's the man. So hit him up. He'll do the right thing for you.
That's a wrap. Thanks, man. That was awesome.
It was all right?
Yeah, of course. It was great.